All right, so we will now call the Selectmen's meeting to order at 5 p.m. First up is to approve and sign the highway safety grant application that was just announced or revealed in the public hearing. So I would make a motion to enter into the highway safety grant agreement with New Hampshire DOS and authorize Selectman Rand to sign on the board's behalf.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. And Scott, All
right, so
Thank you.
there's a lot.
There's a lot.
So let's go. Hold on. You are gonna sign right here.
Good.
If you'll just flip that over. Just want to do it. Let's see, maybe just
So we're gonna keep them in order.
Yes, please.
The rest of these, you're all for the nomination. Over here.
Is anyone? Initial. Oh, we're gonna do one at a time.
Please.
Isn't this exciting?
Free money is exciting anytime. So then next, we finish signing that, we need to accept the unexpected or unanticipated highway block grant funds in the amount of $25,197.64. So I would make a motion to accept those funds.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then moving on, we have the minutes to approve and sign the minutes from the October 4th meeting. I did not see anything in the minutes that was off. Did you? No?
I did not.
Okay.
I would make a motion to accept them as presented.
All right, I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sign these now, yes. All right, next up, we have candidate Glenn Libby here, who is running for Grafton County Commissioner in District 2. Mr. Libby, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you very
Come on
much.
up here if you'd like, so that folks don't have to,
Over here, or?
yeah, anywhere right there, so that the folks.
Where are we at?
I was got a little nervous when I first walked in and saw all the people. I think you guys do a great job over there. I'd like to apologize first of all to the board and to Mrs. Welch for my confusion regarding the last agenda for the last meeting. But I really appreciate the time this evening. I'm a candidate for Grafton County Commissioner in District 2, which obviously includes Woodstock. I've been involved in county government for over 30 years. After I served 4 years in the United States Navy, I started my career in Belknap County as a correctional officer. I then went over to Sullivan County in corrections and was very fortunate to end my career here in Grafton County, my home of 40 plus years, as the superintendent of the Department of Corrections for the county. Since I retired in 2014, Still been actively involved in the county, doing some special projects for the Board of Commissioners, which led me to recently milk cows for the county farm part-time for the last couple of years. So really, I love county government. I feel fortunate that in my 30+ years that I've actually worked for what I think are some of the best county commissioners this state has ever seen. In Belknap County, Mark Thurston. In Sullivan County, the longest serving county commissioner on consecutive terms in the United States by a gentleman by the name of Donald Fontaine. And here in Grafton County for Raymond Burton. So I consider them all somewhat mentors or role models. And I think the common thread between all three of those commissioners was, didn't really matter if you were a Republican or a Democrat. You might have had some core principles, but at the end of the day, it was all about serving the people. So when Mrs. Welch kind of offered me the opportunity to come over here and introduce myself, I kind of jumped at that because I know the county is really good at sending out our tax bill once a year, but we expect the towns to pay. And a lot of times we might not send out an explanation for that, or, you know, you don't really put a face with the bill. If I'm elected to the position of county commissioner, I will do that. I take my public service very seriously, and I want to make sure that everybody in District 2 can put a face with the name. And if you have any questions or comments or anything like that, that you'd be able to get a hold of me and ask those things.
Thank you so much. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining us this evening. as well.
Absolutely, thank you.
I'll open it up if anybody has any questions or comments.
Sure.
I'd love to be educated. What does a county commissioner do? What do you oversee, and how do you see your role? And as the county commissioner, should you be elected?
A county commissioner is a lot like a board of selectmen. We oversee the county nursing home, the jail, the register of deeds, the sheriffs, all the constitutional offices that the county provides. In addition to that, all the ancillary services like maintenance, HR, all the other things that it takes to run the county complex. So we do a lot of the similar things that the Board of Selectmen does, just in a bigger scope. When the Board of Selectmen get their budget ready, they go to the people of the town to get the budget approved. The Board of Commissioners goes to our state representatives. They have the final approval on the county budget. The commissioners are the responsible ones for developing that budget, and at the end of the day, the state representatives who make up the county delegation vote and approve on that budget. So a lot of it's administrative type work, similar to a Board of Selectmen.
I was just kind of curious, did you serve on a ship when you were in the Navy?
No, I did not. I was 4 years in a patrol squadron, anti-submarine. Didn't spend much time in any home ports, but
Well, I'm an old tin can sailor, so I was just.
yeah,
We had
what you
Adrock.
said, what
We
you
told
said,
them we
Skip,
came
I
on
think
submarine with Adrock, so.
no, I was, did most of my tours were up in Iceland. Very nice place, no trees, but very nice place.
Great, well, thank you for coming by.
Yes.
Thank you for your time, and I appreciate that.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you for-
All right. Next up, we have public. Mark, yep, Mark Sillingham would like to discuss short-term rentals.
So. Got in a couple of discussions with some people about, like room and tax. Room and meals,
Yeah.
and. It's basically a question, and a couple of you would know, Scott probably better. So. We collect, a hotel collects room and meals, and then the state gets that. And then the town gets a portion of that back based on number of residents. I'm kind of asking. And so if that's the case, what's going on with VRBO, Airbnb? We're adding people, density to our town. shouldn't we be collecting for these short-termers that are coming and going in residences? We're having to staff up for a large, small city for some of our weekends because of the amount of people that are visiting and staying in our community. Is there, I guess I kind of want to understand better. If we get room and meals tax for just the hotels, and so I don't know who collects that. And the state gets it and then gives back to, based on how many residents? 2,100?
Woodstock, 1,364.
So even less. So we have very small populations, so you're gonna get a small portion. If I understand it, I'm not sure if I understand it correct.
Go ahead, Scott. You're welcome.
I'm not sure exactly how the formula works to send the money back to the towns. And I think it is somewhat unfair that we shouldn't get a bigger portion because we collect a bigger portion, I think, than a lot of communities. And we may, but I don't think so. But the Airbnbs and all those type of rentals do pay rooms and meals tax. I'm not sure that we really do get our fair share back, for sure. But I think that's something, you know, I'd be happy to look into for sure.
I'd be curious to, I would like to know, just if the short-term VRBO, Airbnb, if we're collecting room and meals, are we getting a portion of that back? And it does seem unfair where Portsmouth, the ratio of rooms versus residents is different for Woodstock. Where it's not it doesn't seem, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but I'd like to find out better about that, because it seems like the residents are having to pick up through taxes for a lot of stuff that could be picked up on these overnight stays. It seems off. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but some education would help me. Thank you.
You probably want to start with how many we actually have, how many people are actually
Right.
renting their units or Airbnb in them or whatever. And that we're not even sure of. So we need to start, probably start right there to begin with.
Scott.
No, I think I've always thought it'd be a good idea for anybody that's doing Airbnb to have some type of simple registration with the town. So the police have someone to call if something happens. You know, they can be, you know, make sure they're inspected for fire and safety and that type of thing. I'm not even saying you charge a lot, maybe $50 a place. There's something going on in the legislature about that doesn't allow us to do a lot of those things, but
It fit,
I'd be all for it.
But
yeah,
don't certain towns do fees per
You
not
can, yeah.
necessarily a
Does
tax?
Lincoln do something?
it's not a tax, yeah. I've been actually watching Franconia's, because they're more, when you look at you can go online and you can find how many Airbnbs
Oh, yeah.
are through, and so comparatively, Woodstock is much similar to like a Franconia or a Bethlehem with a couple hundred units. So to compare us to Lincoln and how Lincoln's got a whole management system that they're paying for to monitor their 700 and something units. But I think there's certainly, Franconia mirrors us very well, and I think the regulations that they're working on right now, which they also share the same return. So right now, their regulations that they've drafted are with their legal, and their legal aligns with our legal. And so I think like I said, I've been watching it, so as soon as I kind of see those posted, I think we could easily bring them in, adopt them to how we need to address Woodstock and be able to implement, but it would be we can't impose a tax because we don't have zoning that kind of goes along with that, but we could impose a permit fee that they have to pay each
I
year.
guess I'd be curious
annually.
to know the ratio of standard rooms like hotel, motel, bed and breakfast that are collecting it, and then deal online, what's the ratio?
They're
Are we
supposed to
doubling it?
pay, they're supposed to pay the 8.5%, just like any hotel does.
But
They do, for sure.
if we get it back in a percentage based on your residency.
I just
I don't
found,
know if I'm explaining it right.
yeah,
We're a tiny resident community. Is it really a fair system? I guess is what I'm asking. Are we,
it is not, and that's because it's at the legislative level of how it's dispersed, and it says right here, tourist towns argue they deserve a bigger cut because they carry a larger burden on the infrastructure
absolutely,
for
as
tourism.
someone who's not
And-
in the industry, it
Right,
just.
it's
it
very
just- you
evident.
see it.
but that's not how it's distributed right now. It says right here, based on SB Senate Bill 121. It shows that 56% of the town share of meals and rooms tax revenue is distributed based on population. And then 44% is distributed back to towns, that had it raised based on what they generated. So it's not really evident in that sense, but so it would be a Senate. It would be pushing our legislators to revisit that, to relook at that. And maybe that's something we would have to work with local, other towns around us, Bethlehem, Franklin, those folks to kind of really pressure one of our senators. In this coming session with the new redistricting, we're looking at Lincoln has a different senator than Woodstock again, in this coming year. So, yeah. Okay. But certainly, we can certainly look at what we can do with regulations.
I guess I'd like to see more the specifics.
Yep.
And then kind of base what we get and
You could probably get that disbursement number from DRA.
that's all. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Good question.
Back to this. So next up, we have to approve check requests for the Woodstock Firefighter Fund. They are seeking a request, check to pay for their lobster fest supplies in the amount of $860.42.
Now I'll make a motion to grant that request.
I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Scott's hand was up.
yeah. Do you have any other old business?
I do not. It's not.
Neither do I. Scott, do you have any old business that you?
No, I don't.
Okay, so now we will open it up, based on the new public participation rules that we passed last week. You can ask any questions for comment on agenda items, or you can ask any questions that we will then take to put on the next agenda. Yes, Dawn?
Did you get any more information about the sewer and water? No. I can give you an education.
That's what I need.
And because they're telling me that this is the best way to show you, and you should know because you've dealt with all of these forms.
I went through that book, yes.
Well, no, and Lincoln, you dealt with all these forms, so they told me the best thing to do was to show you.
And what is,
So the 737 is the budget form.
Yep.
Which you're on the budget committee, so you'll see this. This is a form that's done through the Department of Revenue portal. It cannot be manipulated. It's a portal. Did you not
Yeah,
get
yeah.
the portal?
Yeah.
So where you put your numbers, it automatically defaults to.
Correct.
In Woodstock, we have you see where we appropriate the money for the water and sewer, less the capital reserves, because the capital reserves have to be in a specific spot on their form, which show here. So the perception of this is that your property tax dollars are raising money for the capital reserves. Because what you don't see, or the public doesn't get to see, is the MS 434, which is the revised revenue, which moves the money. So Helen, if you come over here. So you'll see how. It's just easier to show you. So this is the form you're working on. You see the expenses and in here, when you get to the water and sewer. We have the capital reserves get pulled out because they have to go. There's no other place to put them. Or did I just do it that one? Right there. Other than here. These pre-populate so that you cannot manipulate them when you see them over here. When we bring them in on the revenue,
On the
'cause
revenue
it
side.
pulls. So we
On
don't
two
have,
different ones. Okay,
it
water and
pulls, the
sewer.
form does this automatically, we don't have access to it. So what happens is when we go to set before the tax rate setting. We do the MS 434, which is your revised revenues.
Yep.
If you go, which is hard because you guys don't get to see this form, you will see that we account for the capital reserves on the
Okay.
434, bringing it in. You just can't see it. So the perception is in this book, because the 434 isn't
Right.
completed, doesn't get done, that your perception is 100% correct, but that's not what's happening, because prior to the tax rate, the revised revenues are done that accounts for it, and you'll see
So
the
this is
difference.
the income that we had
You're bringing it in from
what you billed us.
what you wrote right here.
Okay. Then
So
how
see-
does, okay, I follow you on that one. Okay, because that's what we estimated that it's gonna be, well, that's what, this is a revised estimate.
That would be your budget.
Yep.
Plus the capital reserves from water. They're intermunicipal. So the difference between us and it's all in the general fund, but you have two funds operating within the general fund. They're intermunicipal,
Yep. Yes, I understand
self-sustaining
that.
funds. So this is, they're pulling revenue in from the enterprise funds. Water and sewer.
Yep.
To the general fund.
Okay. To the general fund, then you expense everything out of here.
Right.
Now, last time, Scott said that one of the funds, is it the sewer or the water that has a deficit?
Sewer.
How do we take care of that? Because it can't come out of the general fund
With their new rates.
with new rates coming out.
They'll keep building that back up.
Okay, so if we find when you guys are talking about, we're going to be looking at our whole water system and what's gonna happen, what needs to be done and make sure we have enough money into the water tap, well, it's not water tap fees, but anyways, the fees. Now, do water tap fees go into this?
Yes.
Water tap.
All of
fees
our,
goes
we
in.
do it, everything, every time they go out and do a final water reading.
So that's the money that you give to us to put into part of that at the end of the year to go into the trust funds?
No. These go into the funds, and if there's any extra, it goes into the unassigned fund balance that sits within each fund. So like right here,
Yes, the unanticipated, yes.
yes,
I do
and that's what
talk
Scott
about-
was referencing the other meeting, is that we have unassigned fund money that they have the
earmarked just for there.
for their funds that they have the authority to use for multiple projects, for big capital projects.
Okay.
And they can use that like a capital reserve.
Okay,
And right now, I think, and don't quote me on this, it's roughly, sewer has none,
we're
Water.
fine, we're fine on that,
water
everybody's
has
making-
about 580,000.
Isn't deficit?
No, that's
Oh.
in unassigned fund balance that they can use for capital projects. And to put towards, and when they're applying for grants, like on $1 million, they have money that's just not,
So it's a match that we have to do. for
Right.
grants. We have,
To do that,
they
the
do
money
not have that
to
in
do
sewer.
it.
we don't have.
No.
sewer.
That's why,
But that's. what we're
Sewer rates
working
are
on
so much
building.
higher.
Right, that's why the sewer bill went up so much.
Because they have to take care of, A, the deficit,
So
but
that's why I
also
want to make
plan
sure, I
for,
don't want to find out that down the road, and it's. And, you know, yes, I've worked with this with the town.
that's why she said, anybody that knows, because they couldn't give me, they said, nobody will ever understand it unless you show them, so.
Yes.
That's
and
why
we
I
don't
brought
see that,
everything.
So that I'm fine with that. I'm
So,
fine with
and
that,
you know,
but-
this happens before we set our tax rate, so
Exactly,
that's how it all works.
exactly, I do understand that, that's fine.
So I just figured
Okay.
it was easier,
But
I
I-
said, let me show her,
Yeah.
she'll understand
I
it.
did, yeah, I did, but like, for us, when I worked with this, I didn't have to deal with any of this.
Right, you didn't have the funds.
We didn't have the funds up there, because everything is paid through that.
Well,
So
we had a
that-
long conversation, actually Patrick was there listening to me, asking them to find a way for me to be able to show it here, so that it was clearer.
Yeah.
I don't know that it will happen this year, they told me that they were looking for it, but,
It's good, because it's not just for me, it's for everybody.
because this
That-
form, nobody sees this
Nobody
form.
sees this form, they don't understand the form if you haven't worked with
Even if
it,
I showed, probably most people,
they wouldn't, because.
Can we not publish that form? Is that the issue, or we just don't have it?
we don't know, we
it's
don't
not-
have, it's,
So
we
could
don't
we
have it.
publish, like,
I don't think anybody who's never worked with
They're
this
not
or
would
would
understand it.
understand it. That's why I'm after. I think because we have this, it's not included in our taxes anymore, that normal lay people are not gonna understand it. And that's why
And that's what they were
why I
struggling trying
said,
to give us an explanation, and plus, honestly, there's a lot of new people down there, so,
yeah, it's
and-
people everywhere.
new people in our auditors, so.
And the other thing is, I know we understand this. And you showed me this. Lay people don't. That's why I had said one day, why don't we do it as its own water and sewer district? I know it's more time, it's more work.
I think you would have, there's a lot more money. And a lot more regulations and a lot more whole administrative offices
That has to
separate.
do
It's a district. They become a district then. Their own, just like Waterville or Mountain View, Mountain Lakes over there,
How about like
or Woodsville. I guess it is.
Gorham,
Littleton.
Littleton has Littleton water and light. They not
So
sewer.
I think for the cost of to do that, I could maybe walk somebody through the steps and show them that I'm bringing it in if they came and asked me.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
We'll
but-
keep working
mean-
with DRA to see if we can get some kind of boiled
So they-
down.
Or even if they just do it behind the scenes, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, just something so that the perception,
Something.
we've been answering this for years now. And that's just the only way we can do it right now. But it gets the job done. And years ago, actually Scott was on the phone with me. And listened, and one of our auditors went back. It was always being done even before this, but the auditors did a journal adjustment to move it.
For real.
It was always being done. Oh, they always did. They just had to do it within their documents.
I think maybe in the town report, though, we could probably put a water and sewer department report in that shows how much money we brought in, how much, you know what I mean? So it's a little clearer.
Well,
That-
Melissa does that in her MS 61, or not Melissa anymore. The tax collector does that in the MS 61.
Okay,
And then you'll show the expense, the summary of receipts and expenses are in there as well. And then Melissa will show what she brought, or sorry, the tax collector will show what she brought in.
sure. No, just to try to make it clear for everybody, yeah.
Yeah, it's all in there. It's just,
It's in pieces.
it's just so hard to understand unless someone comes and sits with, and anytime anybody wants to come in, I think it's easier for them to come in the office and see the forms and let us walk them through it, honestly.
It's hard to understand for a normal person, but once you see this.
Right.
And how it goes through, yeah.
That's the,
Okay.
Thank you.
that's the thing. That's why I brought it. I'm like, it would be easier just if I could just show her and. tell her to
Okay,
do that.
thank you.
You're very welcome.
Great. Any other questions?
Your head's not spinning enough.
Oh, these are not our forms, trust me.
No, they're not.
And they're all generated by computer now, right? I mean, they're so much easier the first time.
I would not get a warrant if I could manipulate because it red flags and I won't print those. We have, it has to, everything has to tie out.
Yep.
So anyways. I knew,
No, tell me my capital.
oh, sorry. I had it, I want.
Yeah, no, this is great. Okay. Anything else this evening? No, well then,
I missed last meeting, but there was some other questions from our gathering down on Merriam Woods with Laura. With regards to the
to triple A
road.
ride, yeah, I'm still working on that.
Okay,
So, you weren't here the other day, but so New Hampshire DOT shows that the town owns, and it's a class 5 road up to Avery Farm Road, and then it's a class 7 from Avery Farm Road all the way through to Waterville. I reached out to the district ranger and said, hey, we maintain to the gate. DOT's saying we don't or whatnot. Can you find any agreements or find any documentation? And she did email back and said, yeah, the forest surveyor says that it's your road up to the gate. So, okay, well, I need some kind of documentation to give DOT that also says that this is our road, because obviously we have residents beyond that point that we need to continue to take care of, and we've been taken care of. So I have not heard back from that young lady or from the district ranger since our last meeting, but hopefully we'll get it clarified.
in the past, talking with Bill, there was a comment made, just because there was only one house, one residence up there, but to push the Merriam Woods issue aside, weekend parking up there for snowmobiling, snow touring, cross-country skiing and dog walking. I mean, it's not just one residence.
Right.
My own, that's all.
Well, no, we have town land up there to access. We have, all of that. So it just needs to be clarified, and obviously we're gonna continue to maintain it. It would be nice to get it classified, reclassified as class 5. Or properly classified so that we can collect whatever type of funds that we're supposed to through the highway department, or through the, yeah. highway.
So it's
DOT.
towns to your road and then
Correct.
class
And then
7.
Class 7, to which everybody you ask what class 7 is, and they all just are like, oh. Class 7 is a
Can
class.
we look it up?
Class 7 used to be reserved for boat launch. So I don't know if this falls in that same
Federal.
category.
Is that under?
It's a
your-
federal
We can find out.
It's a federal designation,
Right.
meaning it's federally owned.
I have read.
I should get good money for that. Repairs on that road.
I have read just a little bit about class 7, and all I saw was things like driving lessons, driving courses on class 7 roads.
Yeah, you see signs like, who was it? I think it was Ware, New Hampshire, because I tried to Google and find some of it. I think it was Ware had a sign that said this is a class 7 road, and it had like the different size vehicles and the tons of those vehicles, and only those vehicles are allowed on those type of roads. But there was no like definition of it besides it just saying it's federal.
And well, it's supposed to, they would give them driving lessons on it to teach people when to accelerate into a turn and, all this stuff.
Huh.
But I didn't find anything that was
Pertinent to what type of road it is, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm continuing to dig, Mark. And hopefully we'll get it resolved and figured out. Yeah.
I remember where I read that, and it may have been in the publication Road Less Traveled that the DOT puts out.
I think we did see it in there.
And they were talking about,
Was it Lady Slipper class 7 or something at one point, or some reason we had to look into it,
yeah,
somewhere down on
it said
there.
something about a boat launch.
It does, yeah.
And so I don't know if that's included in the overall description or classification or not. But that was a long time ago.
I actually talked to New Hampshire, Wayne at New Hampshire DOT, and he's the one that told me that it's a federal road or something, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, anything else? Well, then, at this point, I would entertain a motion to adjourn at 5:35 PM.
So I'll make that motion, Scott.
I will second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you all for
Thank you.
coming out this evening.
Thanks, everybody.